Well, for more on today's hearing and what Congress plans to do exactly about the spill, I spoke just moments ago with Republican Representative Michael Burgess, who sits on the committee that questioned the oil executives today. Congressman Burgess, you were a pretty staunch defender of oil companies in the hearings today, but with government scientists now saying that up to 60,000 barrels a day may be spewing from the Deepwater Horizon rig, isn't it time we got tougher with the oil industry and specifically with regulations on offshore drilling?
Well, first off, I would disagree with the characterization that I was a defender of the oil industry today. In fact, I've been very critical of BP and some of the practices and some of the governance that I think played a role in the evolution of the disaster that is now for us. Of course, I've also been critical of the federal role, the regulatory role that really has been pretty much a rubber stamp, but very, very superficial, at least from what we've seen in looking at the exploration plan that the Minerals and Management Service approved that BP sent to them a year ago last month. So the hearings today, I think, were instructive in that 4 of the 5 other executives at the witness table did allow as to how some of the practices that were followed by BP were in fact not reflective or indicative of best practices, or at least not the things that they would do on their rigs and their wells, and I think that was important to bring that up.
Congressman, your colleagues flatly disagreed and said that actually this was an industry-wide problem.
And there was disagreement from the executives who were in front of us. In fact, one of the executives who was sitting at the table said to me in response to a question, I said, have you ever encountered these types of problems with a problem well? Yes, we have. And what did you do? We shut the rig in. And I think had that approach been taken by BP, we might not be in the situation that we're in today.
Okay, Congressman, do you think it is time for tighter regulations on offshore drilling or not?
Well, you know, a week ago, it's interesting, a week ago we had a hearing down in Chalmette, Louisiana, in St. Bernard Parish, and heard from 2 of the ladies who'd lost their husbands in the accident on the Deepwater Horizon. Both of those ladies said that, you know, you really don't need more regulations, but somebody needs to enforce the existing regulations. They had heard from their husbands through phone calls, through emails, through family visits, that their husbands were concerned. They were in fact frightened at times because the regulations, the safety regulations, the things they drilled for and planned for were not being followed, and corners were being cut on that rig. And I think that's where the serious questions are. It doesn't do any good for us to make more regulations if we're not willing to enforce them, then they're really not worth the paper they're printed on. And both of these widows told us that in so many words.
Congressman Michael Burgess speaking to me just a short while ago. Well, despite the major focus